I think, therefore I am. I'm going to call bullshit on that. How about instead, I perceive objects of reality by organizing sensory data, then labeling it, then categorizing it into one of three mental bins labeled, I like it, I hate it, and I don't give a shit about it. And thus, by virtue of establishing a relationship with objects of perceived reality, I prove to myself that I exist, separate from these objects. Therefore, I think I am. Did you catch the fucking difference? I didn't say, I think, therefore I am. I just think I am. Thinking is not the fucking end-all be-all that we frequently consider it to be. Thinking is not a prerequisite for existing. We are so identified with thinking that we wear it like a crown upon our entire experience of existence, and we walk thus, imperiously dualistic, adorned with the jewels of thought and clothed with the robe of ego, which, by the way, is not the villain in this tale. The ego is the scaffolding upon which we hang our series of self-definitions in the form of attractions and aversions that we call me. We hold thought as the seat of consciousness because of the tenacious nature of thought itself. Thoughts really fucking want to be thunk. We are essentially addicts addicted to the act of thinking by taking constant hits of thought. Over and over we get our thought fix. It never seems to shut the fuck up, but there's no one there to tell us, hey motherfucker, you might have a little problem there. And if it seems ridiculous that we could possibly be addicted to thinking as if it's an affliction, then tell me one way in which we suffer that is not either born of or exacerbated by thinking. If you're thinking that this is bullshit, well, that's a thought of self-preservation. Thought is not trying to preserve you. Thought is trying to preserve itself through the thought paradigm that there is a you which relies upon the definitions and attractions and aversions and memories and desires stored as thought, which provides you a narrative so that you can navigate the world with all of your trauma-born protections in place, well stocked with salves of belief to protect you from the inherent fear of annihilation and to provide you the persistent illusion of reality that has become familiar and relatively comfortable, so long as you stay within the lines of thought you've drawn around your own concept of I am. Thoughts are temporary electrical fluctuations in our wrinkly pink meat computer. Temporary as in they come and they go. When you were a child, you had the same feeling of I am that you do now and will later. There's a consistent and unchanging sense of me that is like a string of consciousness threaded through the beads of ever-changing thoughts on the temporal necklace of your life. You don't think the same fucking kid thoughts you did back then, and yet, when you think of young you whose cells have been almost completely replaced at this point, and whose thoughts are totally different, you still think of that kid as me. Even in a dream, when you dream you are someone else, there's still a contiguous feeling of me-ness. I think, therefore I am is not terribly off base in the sense that at least it's pointing in the right direction, which is inward. And our thoughts surely fucking do define who we think we are and what we think reality is. Change your thoughts, change your life, but that's the point. Whatever neural pathways we form and then overwrite and change, allowed by the brain's neural plasticity, there's still a fundamental and unchanged perpetual experience of existence. The ground of experience, a wakeful sort of emptiness, a lucid field, a cognizant effulgence, which acts like a movie screen upon which the movie of thoughts play out our life. No matter the movie you play, the screen accepts and reflects it. A movie of fire doesn't burn it, an ocean flick doesn't wet it. It's a pickle, though, because an eye cannot see itself, and yet we know it's there by virtue of our ability to see. It's extremely difficult to perceive reality as it is solely using the thought plane. Our senses are governed down through evolution to primarily perceive threats or resources. Our responses are an ancient carryover of fight or flight. Our neural pathways are forged through repetition, social and family pressures that are informed by trauma and suffering, or can be shaped through thoughtful mentoring and an early sense of safety. But both extremes still build a neural network of I am a fucking individual thing separate from all that shit out there. Even in dreams, we still have a body. What the hell for? It's a fucking dream, right? You see, our ego is still performing its base function, even when dreaming, which is to prove that reality is real and you exist within it. But hello, in a dream, you are the entire dream, and the body you think you're seated in, and the sense of me-ness is the center of a universe, and simply acts as a reference point for the entirety of your consciousness to reduce and concentrate itself to peer through an egoic aperture and perceive itself as if it was a separate fucking thing, which of course it's not. As above, so below. That's a clue, boo. Reality's just you. But what's a motherfucker to do? Well, nothing at all, really. Most folks will just follow the lines and stay within bounds because nature, in the form of our biology and our chemistry, and the very structure of our wrinkly pink meat computer is designed to ensure that we remain under the impression that we are a thing that's separate from reality. And it has instilled in us very strong survival and self-preservation instincts, and it made us horny little fuckers so that the universes of DNA within our meat tractors can continue their endless tinkering and experimentation of fucking shit up, then trying again over and over, mutating genes to make freaks, of which of course is us, an entire planet of freaks created by evolution, which is constantly making and unfolding new freakish versions, even more complex reference points through which the cosmos can peer upon itself, endless iterations providing experiential portals through which the wakeful emptiness can roll around in an amnesiac meatbox full of neural hair in which to tangle its ass up in. We are all complex, miraculous freaks. You are not your fucking thoughts. Thoughts are mental events that occur within a lucid field that we call mind. Consider that consciousness is not necessarily sequestered within a bone bowl or embedded in brain tissue. Perhaps our brains are meat antennas, in the same way that a smartphone is. Without service or Wi-Fi, a smartphone is limited to its basic operating system, but through a signal, it can download apps, thought paradigms, and can communicate with the internet, aka perceive and interact with reality, such as it is. But maybe you have the curse. You know who you are if you do. Those who, even when totally identified with thoughts, still sense something is off. Those not satisfied by a narrative or with what they're told to believe, who just don't give a shit about or buy into most of the popular worldly activities folks get up to, but have a deep aching, yearning, a hot belly of aspiration to figure it the fuck out, not just peek behind the curtain, fuck the curtain, but to force themselves backstage just to finally know what the fuck is up, and hopefully quench the desperate and constant search for the one thing that is experientially true. Folks who get off the booze tend to drink lots of coffee. People who quit smoking might start chewing gum or biting toothpicks or some shit. But what's a motherfucker to do about a thought addiction? If you try not to think, you generate a mental pressure from which an exponential spurt of thought is born. If you try to outthink your thoughts, you're just generating more fucking thoughts, and it's crowded enough in there as it is. If you actually try to think, your thoughts can slow down, but then you start thinking like, holy shit, it's working, or like that, and your thoughts about thinking less increase, and then you're back to the fucking drawing board. Some folks drown their thoughts by artificial means because they really can get that bad, so what the fuck is the answer? Maybe the answer is to not answer or ask or needlessly generate more thoughts than necessary. I'm not talking about all the fucking time, don't be a dumbass. I'm talking about a purposeful practice of sinking back into your own base nature. I'm talking about observing thought, because to observe thought there must be an observer and that which is observed. So by virtue of your observation, you are distancing yourself from thought and back into your natural lucidity in order to view it. Feel me? Now this is tricky because it's a layered thing. This might mean to you that you're sort of neutrally examining your thoughts, and like when meditating, as soon as you become bound by one, you let it go, and over time you weaken the binding power that thought has upon your awareness. This is how to start to prepare to escape the thought plane. Like an old prison movie, you fill your pockets with dirt from the tunnel you're digging behind that Marilyn Monroe poster, and each day you send it down your pant leg into the prison yard. In other words, it's a fucking process. But once you've transcended the thought plane, it's a different focus. I'm not going to say too much about it because, whatever impression I give you as to what it is will become a thought, and thoughts only serve to obscure this further practice. I'll just say it's basically awareness aware of itself. It's a conscious practice of relentless awareness, and leave it at that. But if this is not currently your experience, then forget about it and just focus on passively observing thought and not being pulled in or pushed away by it. And am I talking about fucking meditation here? Well, sure I am, but meditation defined as such: remaining in your natural primordial state. Did you notice I didn't say attaining or achieving your natural state? I said remaining in your natural state. That's a fucking clue, okay? Cognizance, cognizant only of itself. Awareness without the of. The I seeing itself. I without the baggage of I am. It's just you existing. Thoughts are not attached to or pushed away. They are simply events which occur in the lucid field of mind, just in the same way that waves are an event that occur on the surface of the sea, or that clouds are events that occur in the empty sky. When the thought plane is transcended, then the issue of what to do about thoughts becomes fucking moot. Thoughts never really stop, but if you dive deep into the sea, the turbulence of the surface ceases to fuck you up. Okay, yada yada. I've said way too much already, so with that, I bid you adieu. Toodaloo.